1,000 miles from shore, your steering vanishes in an instant. The rudder has snapped clean off, and you are helpless. 50 years ago, offshore cruisers were armored with Skeg-Hung Rudders, heavy fins shielding the most vital control on the boat. That fin was the shield, the armor of the rudder. Today, that shield is missing. It has been replaced by a single blade, left bare and exposed. The industry says it is all about better performance. The real reason is a ruthless $10,000 shortcut hidden in the factory. Why did we abandon the rudder's armor, and are modern cruisers now sailing on borrowed time? The answer exposes a trade-off no sailor wants to face, one that marketing never dared to mention. Every steering system on a sailboat relies on three main parts: the stock, the blade, and sometimes the skeg. The stock is the backbone, a thick stainless steel shaft often 3 to 4 inches in diameter on a 50-foot cruiser. This shaft runs vertically from the steering gear above, down through the hull, and connects to the rudder blade below. The blade is the broad foiled surface that moves water to turn the boat. Its shape is critical. It is designed to slice cleanly through the sea, providing both lift and control. On many modern boats, the blade hangs alone, attached only at the stock. This is called a spade rudder. But older offshore cruisers added a third component, the skeg. The skeg is a fixed fin, molded as part of the hull and running ahead of the rudder blade. It is not a moving part. Think of it as a shield, always facing forward and ready to take the first hit. The rudder blade is hinged to the back of the skeg, supported at both the top and the bottom. This extra support changes everything about how loads are handled. So when surveyors or builders talk about rudders, these are the terms. The stock is the shaft, the blade is the moving foil, and the skeg is the fixed fin that leads and protects. Without clear language, it is impossible to understand why one system shrugs off disaster and another can fail in a heartbeat. The next time you look under a cruiser, trace the line from the wheel to the water. Is there just a blade and a stock, or is there a skeg standing guard? That difference is the foundation for everything that follows. Picture the difference between a heavy barn door held by 3 solid hinges and a flimsy flap hanging from a single point. That is the foundation of the Skeg-Hung Rudder's strength. The skeg is molded as a fixed fin forming part of the hull. The rudder blade is attached behind it, supported not just at the top by the stock, but also at the bottom by a stout fitting called the pintle. That bottom pintle acts like a second anchor, sharing the burden every time the rudder is pushed by water or by something much harder. When a wave slams the blade or a log drifts beneath the boat, the force does not concentrate at a single joint. Instead, it flows through the entire assembly, stock, blade, skeg, and pintle, spreading the load across multiple supports. The skeg takes the initial hit, deflecting debris before it ever reaches the delicate steering gear. The rudder, shielded in the skeg's shadow, absorbs only a fraction of the shock. This is why older blue water cruisers could shrug off impacts that would cripple a modern design. The barn door analogy holds. Try to break a door with 3 hinges and the force is distributed, the structure holds. Kick a door with only 1 hinge at the top and the whole thing twists, bends, or tears away. That is the secret behind the skeg's reputation for survival. It is not just about extra fiberglass, it is about how forces are managed, how disaster is absorbed and redirected before it can do real harm. On the water, a well-balanced spade rudder feels almost magical. Even on a 40-foot cruiser, the helm can be steered with just a finger. That effortless control comes from hydrodynamic balance. About 20% of the rudder blade sits forward of the stock. When the wheel turns, water pressure on this leading edge helps the rudder swing, reducing the force needed at the helm. The result is precise, almost weightless steering, especially noticeable when docking or weaving through a crowded marina. Speed is another undeniable advantage. Removing the skeg means less wetted surface area dragging through the water. That translates to a measurable gain, half a knot or more on a typical passage. In a world where races are won by seconds and long voyages are measured in days, even a small increase like this matters. The Spade Rudder also bites cleanly in reverse, making tight turns and backing into slips far easier. On wide-stern boats, which have become common since the 1980s, the Spade's agility is especially valuable. These hulls can be tricky to steer under sail, but a balanced Spade Rudder keeps them responsive and manageable. Performance marketing seized on these numbers. Brochures promised fingertip steering and race-proven speed, and for many sailors, the difference was obvious on a test sail. The boat felt lighter, more nimble, more modern. For the average cruiser who spends as much time maneuvering in harbors as crossing open water, these benefits are hard to ignore. The Spade Rudder delivered on its promise: easier handling, better docking, and a sense of control that made even a large boat feel like a sports car. Those real, measurable gains set the stage for a new era in yacht design, one where agility and speed took center stage. By the mid-1980s, the world of sailing was swept up in a new kind of glamour. Footage from the America's Cup flashed across television screens, sleek hulls slicing through the water, crews in matching gear, and hidden beneath the waves, a new weapon, the Balanced Spade Rudder. When Australia 2 clinched the Cup in 1983, designers and marketers seized their moment. Brochures for production cruisers now boasted race-proven handling for everyone. Suddenly, the Spade Rudder was not just a racer's tool, it was the must-have upgrade for anyone dreaming of speed, control, and a taste of victory. Ad campaigns leaned hard into the fantasy. One full-page ad promised that you could turn your cruiser into a Ferrari. The message was simple: why settle for the old barn door feel of a skeg when you could have fingertip steering and effortless docking? Sailors who had never set foot on a racecourse wanted the same technology as the Cup champions. Boat shows echoed with the language of performance. Dealers ran demos, spinning 40-footers on their keels with a single hand on the wheel. The marina became a stage for precision handling, and the Spade Rudder was the star. Naval architects, too, played their part. One well-known designer quipped that a Spade Rudder is like power steering for a sailboat. It is so easy, you almost forget you are moving 12 tons of fiberglass. In interviews, they praised the Spade's agility in reverse and its ability to tame the new generation of wide-stern hulls. The technical truth, better bite, lighter helm, sharper turns, became a selling point even for cruisers. But beneath the buzz, something else was at work. The marketing did not mention the hours saved in the factory or the economics of mass production. The story was all about aspiration. For a generation of sailors, the Spade Rudder was a ticket to modernity, a promise that their family boat could handle like a thoroughbred even if it rarely left the harbor. The dream sold itself, and demand for skegs faded into nostalgia. Inside a boatyard, the skeg presents a puzzle that frustrates even the most experienced laminators. Building a skeg is not just a matter of slapping on extra fiberglass. The hull mold must include a deep, narrow cavity that extends aft, an awkward shape that is hard to reach, let alone reinforce. During layup, every layer of fiberglass needs to be pressed tightly into place with no air pockets or dry spots. The deeper the mold, the harder it is to work the cloth into the tight corners at the base of the skeg. Air gets trapped, forming voids that weaken the structure. Each void is a potential failure point, invisible until the boat is launched, or worse, until it takes a hit at sea. To prevent these hidden flaws, builders spend hours with rollers and squeegees, working resin into every curve. Sometimes they have to cut special access holes in the hull mold just to reach the bottom of the skeg. Even then, it is a battle against gravity. Resin wants to drip out, and fiberglass wants to spring away from sharp angles. After curing, the skeg must be faired smooth, filled, and sanded by hand to blend seamlessly into the hull. If a single spot is missed, water can seep in, leading to delamination or blistering years later. Inspectors often tap the finished skeg with a mallet, listening for the dull thud that means a void is lurking inside, If they find one, it is back to the grinder, cutting out the bad section and rebuilding it from scratch. This painstaking process is not just slow, it is unpredictable. Some hulls come out perfect, others need hours of rework. Every extra minute on the shop floor adds cost, and every flaw that slips through can become a warranty nightmare. The complexity of molding a skeg is not just a technical challenge, it is a constant source of risk and expense for the builder. On a factory floor, every hour counts, and nothing reveals motive like a calculator. Building a skeg into a production cruiser is not just a technical challenge, it is a financial one. Each skeg demands an extra 15 to 20 hours of skilled labor for lamination, filling, and fairing. At a shop rate of $75 to $100 an hour, the cost stacks up fast. For a single hull, the difference can reach $10,000 before the rudder even touches the water. Now scale that across a production run. A builder turning out 1,000 boats a year, like Beneteau or Bavaria, faces a simple equation. Skegs mean $10 million in extra labor costs annually. Spade rudders, by contrast, slot into a smooth hull mold with a single drilled hole and a pre-made tube. The entire installation takes about 2 hours. The shortcut does not just trim minutes, it slashes overhead, payroll, and the risk of costly rework if a void or defect is found in a complex skeg layup. Those labor savings add up, and the savings are visible long before a single sea trial. On the accountant's screen, the numbers flash. Skeg, 20 additional hours. Spade, 2 additional hours. The savings are too big to ignore. When the bottom line drives design, the math wins every time. Performance claims may fill the brochure, but it is the cost savings that decide what gets built. The Spade Rudder's rise was not just about speed or handling, it was about profit margin, pure and simple. For the sailor, this invisible calculation means that the most vulnerable part of their boat, the rudder, owes its shape not to the demands of the sea, but to the demands of the balance sheet. The shortcut is hidden beneath the waterline, but its impact is measured in millions, and it changes our expectation of survival when we are alone at sea. A spade rudder, for all its agility, is a classic example of a lever in action. When a force hits the tip, whether it is a wave, a floating log, or debris, the entire load is multiplied by the length of the blade. That force does not spread out. It concentrates where the stock enters the hull. Think of a crowbar prying against a stubborn nail. The longer the bar, the greater the torque at the base. On a 40-foot cruiser, a hit at the rudder tip can generate thousands of pounds of bending force at the bearing. The stainless steel shaft, even at 3 inches thick, is now the only thing standing between steering and disaster. Under normal sailing, the stock flexes minutely with every wave, but a sudden side load, like striking a submerged object, can push it beyond its elastic limit. If the stock bends as little as 10 degrees, the rudder blade jams tight against the hull. The wheel locks. The boat veers uncontrollably, sometimes in the worst possible direction. There is no way to steer, no fix from above. At sea, this is not just inconvenient, it is dangerous. A bent stock cannot be straightened in the water. In some cases, the steel yields further and the blade tears free entirely, leaving a gaping hole below the waterline. The physics are unforgiving. Every inch of unsupported blade acts as a multiplier, turning a glancing blow into a catastrophic failure. Unlike a Skeg-Hung Rudder where the load is divided and redirected, the Spade Rudder takes it all on the chin. The result is a system that works beautifully, right up until the moment it does not. In the last 4 years, the waters off Gibraltar have become a proving ground for rudder design. More than 500 yacht encounters with orcas have been recorded since 2020. The pattern is chilling. The orcas go straight for the rudder. For boats with a spade rudder, the outcome is often immediate. The stock bends or the blade shears off entirely. A Hanse, 460, equipped with a single deep spade, lost steering in under 20 minutes. One moment the helm was responsive, the next, the wheels spun uselessly. The crew had to rig a drogue and limp to port, their vacation turned into a survival exercise. Insurance adjusters have started to take notice. Claims for rudder loss have spiked, especially among production cruisers built in the last decade. Surveyors report that in these attacks, spade rudders are almost always disabled, either snapped clean or jammed hard against the hull. The numbers are hard to ignore. In informal tallies, 4 out of 5 spade rudders hit by orcas are completely lost. Repair bills climb past €30,000, and the stories circulate in marinas from Galicia to Morocco. But there are exceptions. Boats with Skeg-Hung Rudders tell a different story. A Moody 66 battered by the same orca pod arrived in port with a chewed-up blade but intact steering. The Skeg took the brunt, the pintle held, and the crew kept control. They finished their passage shaken, but under their own power. Owners who have faced these attacks describe the moment of impact, a sickening vibration, the sense of the boat being spun by an outside force, and then, crucially, the relief when the steering still works. For them, the Skeg is more than a relic. It is the reason they made it home. Today, most cruising yachts are built for cost, not impact survival. As orca encounters and debris collisions rise, the ocean keeps testing what accountants left exposed. For every family that trusts their life to a single unsupported blade, the trade-off is real and the risk is not theoretical. In the end, seaworthiness isn't just a number on a balance sheet. What's under your hull decides who comes home. Share your thoughts below.